Chapter 33. And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men. And he divided the children unto Leah, and unto Rachel, and unto the two handmaids. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost. And he passed over before them, and bowed himself to the ground 7 times, until he came near to his brother. And Esau ran to meet him, and embraced him, and fell on his neck, and kissed him, and they wept. And he lifted up his eyes, and saw the women and the children, and said, Who are those with thee? And he said, The children which God hath graciously given thy servant. Then the handmaidens came near, they and their children, and they bowed themselves. And Leah also with her children came near, and bowed themselves. And after came Joseph near, and Rachel, and they bowed themselves. And he said, What meanest thou by all this drove which I met? And he said, These are to find grace in the sight of my Lord. And Esau said, I have enough, my brother. Keep that thou hast unto thyself. And Jacob said, Nay, I pray thee, if now I have found grace in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand. For therefore I have seen thy face, as though I had seen the face of God, and thou wast pleased with me. Take, I pray thee, my blessing that is brought to thee, because God hath dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. And he urged him, and he took it. And he said, Let us take our journey, and let us go, and I will go before thee. And he said unto him, My Lord knoweth that the children are tender, and the flocks and herds are young, with young are with me. And if men should overdrive them one day, all the flocks will die. Let my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before his servant, and I will lead on softly according as the cattle that goeth before me, and the children be able to endure, until I come unto my Lord, unto Seir. And Esau said, Let me now leave with thee some of the folk that are with me. And he said, What needeth it? Let me find grace in the sight of my Lord. So Esau returned that day on his way unto Seir. And Jacob journeyed to Succoth, and built him a house, and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name of the place is called Succoth. And Jacob came to Shalem, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan. And he came from Padan Aram, and pitched his tent before the city. And he bought a parcel of a field, where he had spread his tent, at the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. And he erected there an altar, and called it El Elohi Israel. This is a very straightforward chapter. We see that even though Esau is bringing 400 men with him, they aren't to do battle. They're to greet his brother with. And that when he meets them, he falls on his neck. They cry, they weep, they're reconciled one to another. And he asks them, what are all these cattle and animals that you're sending? And he said, they're basically, Jacob tells Esau, they're for you. And Esau says, don't worry about it. I have lots. And Jacob says to Esau, no, please, let me do this for you. And so they work out that arrangement, and Esau takes them. And about the only thing that most people don't really understand, there is sometimes a criticism of Jacob for his arrangement of who goes first from his camp. It seems as though he's making a negative statement about the value of the people to some people's minds, in that the handmaids with their 2 children each, they go out front of the group that's traveling, and then Leah and her sons, and then Rachel and Joseph at the end, at the back. The very safest spot is where it's assumed. But Jacob goes out in front of everybody. And he bows himself down 7 times in front of his brother, and they greet one another, and they're reconciled. And people who have no idea what the cultures are of the Middle East have no idea that this is the traditional way in which things were done. In that what you did was you started off with something that was pretty good, if you had a procession like this of something that would happen, and you built, and the next step was a better quality one or better one. So the handmaids would have been first. They would have been secondary wives in a sort, and then Leah, and then would have come Rachel with her son. And this is how this would have been customarily arranged. All the wives would have understood it. All the children would have understood it. Everybody in the culture would have understood it. But everybody who's trying to look at it from our own present day point of view and having an attitude towards Jacob as maybe trying to protect things would not necessarily understand it. But that's basically, I think, pretty much what it is. And Jacob tells his brother he can't really travel quickly. He has tender children with him, and the animals that he has need to travel really quickly because they're all very delicate, they're all very young, all very tender, and if they push them too hard, they're going to have a huge percentage of them are going to die. And so rather than everybody sort of rushing back with those 400 men and driving the herds back, would be much better if Jacob took his own time, and that would be fine. It was quite all right now that he had focused on and gotten the forgiveness of his brother Esau and knew he was welcome. They would get together, they would have time, they would do all the things they needed to do, but let Jacob take his own sweet time, depending on how the children and the herds were, to get to some place where he would choose to live. It's a pretty good assessment for all of the 20 years of fear that he had that Esau was going to kill him.